I have lived in the Caribbean for about 78 years now. First living in St. Vincent before moving to Barbados. So here are some unique things about the Caribbean / Barbados in general that if you've never lived in the Caribbean or maybe in Barbados, you may not have experienced, and I wanted to share them with you. So here we go. Number one, places are closed on Sundays and public holidays. So in Nigeria, where I come from, especially public holidays, places are usually open. In fact, public holidays are the best time for people to open their shops and sell things, because all the civil servants will be at home, which means they'll have time to go shopping. And because of that, it's a big market day. Like, people shop like crazy. The markets are usually stuffed. Not in the Caribbean. When you come here on Sundays and on public holidays, everywhere is dead silent. One small difference between St. Vincent and Barbados, though, is that in St. Vincent, it's almost like all the buses are gone. Like, if there are 100 buses on a normal day, you get 2 on a Sunday or on a public holiday. In Barbados, it's slightly better. There are just a few more buses, so it's not as quiet. But nevertheless, coming from a place that is usually bubbly on both days, yeah, that's a little strange. So that was something that I had to get used to. And I tell you, my first public holiday ever in the Caribbean was a disappointment, because I had planned to go shopping, and I tell you, I stood at the road for so long. And when I finally got to town, there was nobody there, and that's when it hit me. Everybody took a day off. So that's something to keep in mind. Number 2, and this is really important, but nobody has ever said it before. The healthcare, the public healthcare, I would not rely on it. And here's why. So when I was in St. Vincent, I didn't really fall sick. And by the way, if you're coming over to Barbados on the welcome stamp or digital nomad visa, you're required to have health insurance. I'll link my health insurance providers below. I use Safety Wing, very amazing service. That's what I've used for the past year. Now, knowing that, I didn't expect, how will I put it? Okay, so my friend had an accident where he mistakenly poured himself hot water, and it actually like scalded him. It was a serious burn. And we went to the public hospital here in Barbados, accident and emergency. And I kid you not, they made us form a queue. We were on a queue. We stood in a queue for like 20 minutes, and the line had not moved. And the entire time he was shaking, because the burn was so bad that I don't even know how to explain this to you. And it was late at night. So here's what I'll tell you. If you're coming to Barbados, don't like rely on the government or public health care that if something happens, that's where you would go. I would highly recommend, if something happens and you don't know anywhere, like scroll on Facebook or check on Google and find a private clinic or a private healthcare professional and contact them instead. You're more likely to get instant help, because after standing for 20 minutes at the I think it's Queen Elizabeth Hospital, I can't remember the name, forgive me. But after standing there for about 20 minutes, we realized that, okay, we're probably not going to get attended to. So we had to check on Google, and we called a private clinic, and that's when the burn got attended to. So yeah, that's something to think about. If you come from a country that has quick medical public medical assistance. Also, I want to add that we called the ambulance about 3 times, and it was like 8 p.m. and they told us that they had closed, which is wild, because I would think that the ambulance is supposed to work 24/7, given that it's for emergencies, right? And I remember the lady saying, oh, that they are closed, that they've gone. And I was like, are they coming? She said, no, they are not coming, that they've closed, that there's nobody here. So yeah, that's something very interesting to note and something to keep in mind. Number 3 thing that was surprising to me is that they actually use hand signs while driving. So I'm currently in the middle of taking driving lessons, and like, I used to think, based on what I know from Nigeria, that like you use your lights and all of that to signal your signals to show where you're going. But here they actually use hand signs. Like, they'll bring out the hand outside of the car to show you that they're slowing down and stuff like that. So if you see hand signs being thrown at the traffic stop, it's not gang signs, it's traffic signs with their hands. And here in the Caribbean, we also drive on the left side of the road. I always walk to the wrong door whenever I want to enter the passenger seat, even after 7 years. So if you're coming from a side where they drive on the right, so just keep in mind that everybody drives on the left. Speaking of driving, a lot of people say Barbados drivers are reckless and they drive crazy. From a normal driving, like what, for example, like I said, I'm learning how to drive. From what the books say we should be doing on the road, I agree. However, it's not too surprising for me because, again, I come from Nigeria. We drive crazy there. And number two, I lived in St. Vincent for 7 years. St. Vincent drivers are on a different level. See, let me tell you, Barbados is flat. The way I see it, Barbados is flat and the roads are wide or wider in Barbados. I mean, I've seen 2-3 lane roads here in Barbados. In St. Vincent, the roads are smaller, right? And you have to keep in mind that St. Vincent is mountainous, like it's hilly, it has hills and everything. And they will be driving like they got 7 lives or 9 lives stored in the back seat on a cliff. I kid you not. I remember this vividly. We were going to the waterfalls in St. Vincent and we were driving on a hill. You could not see the vehicle coming towards you. And this guy was speeding. And the way St. Vincent roads are, if 2 cars, many of the roads at least, not all, but if 2 cars are coming, one has to stop and shift like this for the other car to pass. And these guys, they speed, like they will fling you out of the window into the hill and you will just be gone forever. So coming from that kind of driving, I think Barbados driving is pretty peaceful if you ask me. But a lot of people say that, driving is wild. Well, I guess there's that. But like from my experience, it's wild, but it's not as bad. At least I'm just used to crazy driving. Something else is that they actually play loud music in the ZRs. So coming to the Caribbean, this was shocking to me because I know that in Nigeria, in our public transportation, we also have loud music. Don't get me wrong. We play loud music like all the time. I just thought it was a Nigerian thing. Like, because when you watch American movies or movies from all these other places, you don't hear them playing music in public transportation. So I thought it's just us Nigerians or maybe Africans. I don't know. I've not been to that many African countries. But I went to St. Vincent and they played music loud in their vans. And I came to Barbados, the exact same thing. So I guess we are all tied by blood. All black people, I'm guessing, we all just play loud music in all our vans. And the music is really loud. See, let me tell you, if you buy noise cancelling headphones, you're wasting your time. You will hear that music. And don't get me started on the DJs, on the radio. They will play the music, pause it and scream over the song, then oh my god, you have to experience it. I don't even know how to tell. If you've not been inside bus, you will not understand what I'm saying. But anybody that has lived in Barbados knows what I'm talking about. So that's something else to like. I'm guessing I'm talking to people coming from the West. If you're not used to that and you want to take public transport, just get ready for the club vibes that is going to happen there. Also, in the public transportation buses like the ZRs and even the electric buses, let's be honest, there are, for the smaller ZRs, the white ones, they have, it's all sitting, right? But then sometimes they will pack people. They will pack you will sit on somebody's lap. Like somebody will just sit on your lap out of nowhere. And the people that are standing, let's not even get started. Then in the longer buses, the yellow ones, the electric buses, oh my god, I know this one specifically. The Oistins ABC Highway Oistins bus 5759 on any weekday evening from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. That time frame, if you see the way the people inside the bus are packed, they pack them like sardines. The people, you will not even be able to do like this. My goodness. So yeah, if you're planning to move around that hour, I would just recommend getting taxi or sit down in your house or leave the house earlier. If not, get ready for both Barbados traffic and sardine, and then you will stand from the beginning of that journey till you get to Oistins, and there will be hold up. It will take you 1 hour and you will be standing. Your hand will be shaking like this. That's the transportation system. So just take it like that. Next up is camo. Don't wear camouflage. If you're coming to the Caribbean or Barbados, don't wear camouflage in public. I'm from Nigeria. We don't wear camouflage either, and our military, they are not lenient at all. Like they don't tolerate it at all. And the same thing is in Barbados. Like if a military personnel, army, whatever soldier sees you in camo, they are going to request that you change your outfit. So don't bring it, don't buy it, don't wear it. Save yourself stress. Don't do it. Another thing, and I think I have to say this because of like the internet world right now, don't take photos of people without their permission or videos. I that's one of the reasons why it's a little hard for me to make some videos outside, because I'm trying to be respectful of people. I try to record, but I make sure that like there's nobody in the background or stuff like that, or if there are people in the background, it's like their backs or non-identifying body parts. I try to do, but don't take photos of locals. Don't take photos of, don't just take people photos in public or videos of people in public without their permission, right? Something else to note is do not litter. Littering is not taken kindly in the Caribbean. Like if you come from a place that litters, you don't want to litter here. And they make it easy for you to keep this law because there are bins almost everywhere. Sometimes you find that some of them are full, but there are bins everywhere. And I recommend, if you don't know what to do, just put it in your bag. Like I've just made it a habit that I put any trash I have in my bag until I get to the next bin, and then I throw it away. Especially if you're like in town, in Bridgetown, you find that there are lots of bins that you can use, so they don't make this difficult to keep. So just keep it in mind. Don't open something and just fling it. I think the fine is like $5,000 or something like that. You do not want to do that. Something else that is peculiar to Barbados is that people say Barbados is expensive. Groceries and cost of living is expensive. And I think it's partly because of the VAT. The VAT here is 17.5%, which is quite high from all the VATs I've experienced so far. So when you go to buy things from stores, the VAT is already added to the price that you see, so don't worry, you don't have to calculate it. So if you're coming from like US, you don't have to look at the price and then start saying okay, 17.5%. However, that price that you're seeing, there's a 17.5% additional fee on top, so which is what really hikes a lot of the prices up in Barbados. Barbados actually did a VAT free day. I think it was on the 21st of December, which was fun because everybody went to shop. I don't know if they'll do it again. I heard they did it last year and they did it again this year. I don't know if they'll do it, I don't know if it will become like a normal thing. I think it started in COVID or something like that. But let me tell you, it was fun because let me tell you how I didn't shop much that day because I didn't really need to buy much. But what was very interesting was that I went to buy something and it was like $11.99 or so on the counter, and when I went on the shelf, and when I went to the counter, the price dropped. And that is, if that's not magic, I don't know what is. So that's something to keep in mind about the cost of things when you're buying things in Barbados. You can shop duty free, but that's only if you can like provide your flight itinerary and your passport, and it's not everywhere you can shop duty free. So that's how it costs to live and shop in Barbados. This next one I find quite interesting, and it's the fact that people will collect USD from you in Barbados, but they will never give you back. Like I don't get it. Just by rule of thumb, generally it's like 1:2, so 1 USD is to 2 Barbados, right? If you come into Barbados with USD and you give it to somebody at a shop or whatever, they'll collect it from you and they'll give you your balance or change in Barbados dollars. But if for any reason you want to convert your money from Barbados to USD, you are finished. Nobody will give you this thing. Like you will go, everybody will say they don't have USD, and it's confusing because these people collect USD the whole day. There are lots of tourists in Barbados and they are always giving them USD, especially the taxi drivers. They get a lot of USD on the daily, but they are very hesitant. I remember one time I wanted to apply for a visa and the visa required a USD payment. I started looking for where to change money. Now I know you must be thinking, why didn't you go to the bank? Because I don't have a bank account here, and in order for you to change money, you need to have a bank account, or you need to be someone who is traveling, and they will only change money for you the day before you travel. So you cannot, like, if you're traveling on the 1st of January, you cannot change money on or before the 31st of December. And you even have a limited amount of money that you can change. So it's just really hard to get USD when you're coming in. So I don't know. if you're coming in, if you want to keep USD for any reason, you should save your USD and withdraw in local currency and spend and whatnot. That I don't know. I don't know what advice to give you, but that's it. Also, the banks here don't change to pounds. I say this because a lot of Nigerians take the UK route when they are coming to Barbados, and when they are going back to Nigeria, they take the UK route as well. And if you're stopping in the UK to layover or something and you want to shop, obviously they're going to shop in pounds there, right? Nobody's going to change Barbados dollar to pounds for you. It's only USD they change it. I remember asking in the bank, they said mbano, they don't have. So yeah, usually what we do is that there are some Facebook groups with like digital nomad visa people, and then they will, maybe if you know somebody on Facebook Marketplace, or if tourist is coming in and the person has pounds, and then they will give you their pounds, you give them Barbados dollar. But it's hard to get pounds here. You might get USD at the bank, but never pounds. Something else to keep in mind about Barbados and the Caribbean is that restaurants don't open every day. Now, I'm not that well traveled, so I don't know if this is normal for some people, but you know, all the restaurants are not open all the time. And even if some of them are open, they have their like special days when you go and it will be very bubbly. A very good example is Oystins, right? Oystins Fish Market will open on Fridays. You see people, it will be food, there'll be food. Every other day of the week is pretty much dead. Some places at Oystins Fish Market open other days, but it's pretty much quiet until Fridays. So if you're looking for the bubbling happening day, you want to check in with like the restaurant or wherever you want to visit to know what days they open. And some places will serve certain foods on certain days. A good example is where I like to eat my Alfredo pasta on the cheap. Like there's cheap Alfredo for like $17 to $20, and then there's the expensive Alfredo from restaurants that cost $50, right? The place I eat it, they only serve it on Thursdays. So if you don't know that, you go on Monday like I did. If you are on my Instagram, you saw my stories when I was crying. I went to the store and they were like, oh no, we don't sell Alfredo on any day outside of Thursday. So you want to know what days the restaurant you're going to, if they serve the food you're going to eat there every other day. And you also want to make a reservation, because if you're going to a popular restaurant especially, they often have all their seats taken. So make sure to make a reservation ahead of time. Okay, if you're planning to live in Barbados for a long time, it's good to know that the housing market here is very interesting. So pray to God that he helps you find a house, because the demand of houses has gone really high up ever since the welcome stamp was introduced, but the supply of houses not so much. Now I'm going to give Barbadians credit, or Bajans credit. They are actually building. I'm seeing places that they are currently building, like people are trying to invest into housing right now. However, it's still not like we don't have enough housing to go around. And something else is that the tourists, and I'm going to say this thing for everybody. So if you're a tourist watching this, especially my fellow nomads, tourists, whatever, that are coming from US, UK, Canada, I don't know how to say we or you, but we have collectively caused an increase in the price of rent in Barbados. Why? Because when the welcome stamp was introduced, there was a high influx of people coming from US, UK, Canada, all these places with sweet currencies, right? And now, no matter what the housing prices in Barbados, like whatever price they put, it is comparatively cheaper to what they are paying in the UK and the US. So many of people in the UK, US just came and they were just like, and I've seen, this is not hearsay, this is something I've seen inside groups. They'll be like, I'm looking for a 4-bedroom apartment to stay for 2 weeks, and my budget is $10,000. Why, my sister? Why would you be paying $10,000 US? Now, I mean, from the perspective of a person owning a house, good for you. From the perspective of, and I'm putting into consideration locals as well as people who want to stay here long term, it is ruining the rent, the renting space. Why? Everybody now thinks, okay, great, I'm going to set my house to be short-term rentals. I'm going to charge, $500 per night for a normal sized room, And then what that does now is that, yeah, you know, you make a lot of profit as the owner of the house, but then locals find it harder to rent normal houses. People that want to live longer term in Barbados, I'm talking about like workers that are imported into Barbados, people like me that are living longer term in Barbados, it's impossible to find houses, because who has $10,000 to be paying per month USD as rent for a house? And the house is not even coming with, like, you know, a cook or a car. I try not to be unreasonable, but I think that because many of them just come and state their budget. And if you think about, I'm a business owner, I'm thinking about it from the point of a business owner. If I find out that my house is normally $1,000 and somebody's willing to pay $3,000, many people, I wouldn't do it, but many people would do it. They will collect the money, because what's the point? And the person is very happy. So yeah, that creates a very complicated renting system. So brace yourself if you're coming here, whether it's short-term rentals you're looking for or long-term rentals. It gets quite difficult to secure housing. I tell you, there was a time I was looking for a house, and the day I went in to see the house, like I booked it, the house was posted that day. I went to a viewing that day. When I got there, there was a couple that came before me, and they were looking at the house. In front of me, they were signing the rental agreement. That's how bad it is. Like, they were like, we are taking this house. Like, they refused to leave. One of them was trying to go home to bring the deposit to make sure that they get the house. And I tell you, we were looking at this house at around like 8 to 9 p.m. in the night. So that's how it brutally gets sometimes. So brace yourselves. I think I get that a lot of people coming here for tourism or short stays are looking to get the best like experience for their money and things like that. However, there is no harm in knowing what the market price for something is and then negotiating your way. So for example, I don't believe in like bringing down prices to a ridiculous thing. I don't do that. If you want to go to a place, you can check what is the average cost. So if the average cost for rent is say $200 per night, and you want to stay for 10 nights, so that's supposed to be about $2,000, right? So don't go inside of a Facebook group and say I have $5,000 budget. That makes no sense. Just find a house that fits your budget. Message the person and say, I would like to rent your house for this thing. Ask them questions, pay the money and go. Don't throw money at people unnecessarily, because by doing so, you are hurting people who don't have as much spending power. I'm just saying, economics is demand and supply. Now, demand is very high and supply is low. And then if we are willing to throw any amount of money just because we want to be prioritized in the demand, it will hike the prices up ridiculously. Now, hopefully the market will determine how everything turns out, but it's just something to keep in mind if you're looking for housing here. Last three things. Number one, Chefette is everywhere. Chefette is the equivalent of KFC, or rather, let's say like the local equivalent of KFC. You will find a Chefette every time you sneeze. You see a Chefette. That's how I see. There are so many Chefettes everywhere. So if you see Chefette and you're wondering what it is, think KFC. The local version is Chefette, and there are lots of them at walking distance. I recommend that you try one of their outlets, see what you like there. If you want to, check out the local fast food joints. Something else to note is that Barbados water is hard, so brace yourself if you're not used to that kind of water. Check the place that you're living if you can drink the tap water. Some of them have like filters and all of that to help soften the water. Otherwise, you might, depending on where you live, you might need to be using bottled water. Then finally, whatever place that you live in Barbados, ensure that the house that you live in has a tank. The reason for this is because there are water outages for different reasons. And even though some of these water outages are announced, if you don't have a tank to store water, you will not be able to access water throughout the outage. Now, when the outages last for longer periods of time, the government sometimes sends over like water tanks with drinking water and all of that to this. Now, I can't speak to whether it goes everywhere. Where I live, water tanks came. I don't know that it went to everybody. So you guys should let me know, does it go everywhere in the country, or maybe it's just, maybe special sides of Barbados? So that's it. Thank you for watching this video, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.